the enemy team getting close to you. So the first stage, it's always like the what we can call the poke stage in a game. That's a stage where we just kind of really far from each other. We're not actively engaging each other, just exchanging those cooldowns, like you starting here and then the enemy team just starting to spawn, and you guys both kind of like the enemy team currently going towards you. Okay? And in this stage, you want to make sure you have that charge. And then later, when there is gonna be a second stage, it's called brawl stage. That's where you need to bubble your Reinhardt again and enable him again because he's swinging. But because you have that charge, like now maybe you have 50 plus charge in the brawl stage, you're actually able to do something versus the enemy team versus zero charge. Okay. And for the most part, you think you need to work on your aim, your positioning, game sense. Anything else what you want to mention?
I don't know anything else.
Currently you're playing Zarya and Diva, right?
Yes.
Okay. So mostly you're interested in kind of like focusing on tank, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think what we can try to do today, because seems like in Overwatch they just patched the game currently, we can try to do one live coaching game.
Sure.
And start with that, and then later we'll do what you, and we're basically gonna identify what you need to work on, what you need to start with.
Okay.
That sounds good?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm also like hoping this is just my plan. Like we can, because I feel like all of my quote unquote friends are not good enough to give me valuable advice. I'm just gonna be honest.
Do you play with what kind of friends you playing? Just generally speaking, kind of like same rank as you, or
similar rank? I have 3 friends who are I have 2 friends. 2 friends who are masters. Like around 3700 SR. But they're both animes.
Okay. I mean, for the most part, like you can hear some general advice from good high rank player maybe, but it's not always maybe necessarily gonna help you exactly, because they might not know what you need to start with, like, because there's always sort of like, it's like a building pyramid, you need to start with fundamentals, you need to start with this like good fundamental knowledge, and then later, once you giving more and more pieces into this pyramid, it becomes like bigger and bigger. And that's why, like, actually listening to some sort of maybe advice from YouTube, or maybe advice from somewhat like Twitch streamers, sometimes it might be not that great for the player. And same applies to like your friends. If they give you specific advice, it might not feel that well to you, because you might miss that fundamentals, sort of, if that makes sense. Does it make sense?
I feel like they don't have the SR to back up their claims.
Okay.
If I mean, most of my friends are gold or plat. I just feel like, are we really that different?
Yeah.
Especially me and the gold players, because I'm like, are we different in? And also, I think I'm hoping, I'm not sure if it's gonna work out, is for me and you to work together for a couple of months.
Yeah, and I think that's what we can do. If you're serious about improving in Overwatch, we can sort of identify, we can sort of identify what you need to work on first. Like today, it's gonna be our initial session, and then later we're gonna start building this pyramid, sort of. Okay, if that makes sense. Yeah, we just start with fundamentals. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and it's just, I'm going to just start my game, and
I think that works. I also watched your replay for a little bit, but I
Yeah,
watched it before the patch. I made some notes, so I think there's something we can talk about. Generally speaking,
yeah,
we will. Yeah, I think just try to. You can screen share here, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, so here.
oh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see
okay,
your
here we
screen.
go.
The main thing we'll be paying attention to now is our bubble management, I would say. Like from what I saw in your replay which you sent, that's like the biggest part you want to be aware of. So first of all, let's think about how do we get charge. Let's try to get the highest possible charge, so like 50 plus is good enough. Let's consider high charge, and then later try to be more decisive with your bubbles, sort of bubble anyone who is actively receiving pressure. Yeah, and same applies to your cell bubble too. So when you're actively receiving pressure, when you're actively being shotted, you can bubble yourself when you have 50 plus charge. So the first step is getting charge.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see here. Who do we bubble as well? Who we can potentially bubble from? Oh, okay. It seems like the game's gonna be cancelled.
Cancelled. I think they're scared because you're here.
I think they're scared of 2CP map as well.
I was like so close to gold, and I DC twice yesterday, and I lost a bunch of games. I'm like, this is great. Now I'm actually handicapped for the people to teach me. Okay, this is good.
Okay, let's see here. Oh,
I see it.
this map is a Havana. Havana is pretty
Havana.
long range map. Zarya is
Yes, it
still
is.
playable, so let's see here. Who do we bubble? Who we can potentially enable? Right now, we only have Zarya. I mean, we can
I
just
was.
wait. Hmm.
Well, wait. I I usually say
So who is the best target for you to get charge from? Let's start with that. That's our
Reinhardt.
first step. Yeah, most likely the Reinhardt.
Yeah.
Also, anyone who is actively doing something, who is receiving pressure, maybe let's say there's a Junkrat at the front line, is just going in really, really far in the front line. You can bubble him, or maybe someone else, doesn't matter. But for the most part, expect your Reinhardt to be actively doing something. The second your second bubbles are basically where you're gonna be more decisive and sort of think about who is in really like who is in trouble. Maybe you can try to save someone from death as well. So yeah, let's focus on getting some charge first though. That's a first step.
Oh my god. No, I didn't have it.
It's alright, try to stay alive. You can try to go back here a little bit more. Still focus on gaining charge. Right, potentially try
Soldier's
to.
tank.
Mhm.
Ryan's still pretty low.
Now you have pretty good charge, so you can basically bubble anyone who is actively doing something in your team, like going in aggressive, maybe save someone for death if someone slept or so. You can also bubble that. Okay. Now you can take some charge again. Just focus on that because you less than 50.
He's out.
Let's also think about how to avoid dealing with Reinhardt shield. Literally try to like deal with anything what's behind the Rein shield first of all, but not the Rein shield
Ours
itself.
did. I don't think theirs did.
Oh, I'm sleeping. Oh shit!
Okay,
Right.
happens. Usually when there's this kind of situation appears, you never want to rely on someone from your team. Just rely on the cover you have. Just stick to cover. That's that's not gonna give you any surprises like that.
Yeah. Team is carrying me. It's great.
You almost have graph too, so you can
Yeah.
carry the next fight probably once you have it. Good cell bubble there. Hmm.
Doom left. One. Doom disc on the left. Underground.
Good bubble in Rhine too.
What?
Oh, nice. We
I don't
actually
know. I don't know. Should just.
actually deblocked the shadow there. Nice.
I think I blocked the.
There's only 3 Ryan's back this time.
Try to focus on their squish as much as possible, like 200 HP targets, or if you find those.
No, right.
Hey, Ryan behind. Ryan's
It's fine. Focus on 200 HP still, and then later you can go to Rhine.
Doom. Oh, just sleep.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, pretty good hold. First point, that's pretty impressive. I think you guys can push that and win the game pretty much.
It's always like this when like someone else is watching. The game is like somehow is good. While you're not here, it's like a shit show and like nobody's hitting. Anyways.
It's okay. Anyway, there is something to talk about. There is something what we can improve on still, so it's okay. Like if your main goal is improvement, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're gonna win or lose because
Yeah.
overall, if you improve, then later you're just gonna win more games automatically. So
Yes.
having this some sort of goal, just like improving on something, yeah, is
Yeah.
always important. Yeah.
I wish I can just tell you, you know what? You know what? I just want to be like a one-trick Zarya that gets the 3500 SR. That's it. Great.
No, I mean, you can do that if you want. You can one trick the hero. I would say one tricking the hero is a little bit harder than, let's say, having like this sort of hero pool
Yeah.
with 2 or 3 heroes, but still possible.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I would say 2. Let's say if I want to just do 2, Zarya and Diva. But if I can, if there's one hero I want to pick up in tank, it would be Reinhardt. But there are so many Reinhardts out there.
I would say yeah, sticking to Zarya and Dio would be okay.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's focus on getting charged first. You can also bubble the Rhine from kind of like far. It's okay.
Alright, that's so quick. Oh!
Okay.
Tap Discord.
Nice, that's pretty good.
Sig disc.
Can maybe finish the Hanzo too. Nice.
Bap up and cart.
Okay, nice, GG. Well, I think you can just give me the replay code and we can talk about a couple
Let's
of
talk about
things
this
here.
here.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, yeah, it's working just fine. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Nice. Okay, so my first question would be, what is your role as Zarya? What do you want to do as Zarya, generally speaking?
Generally speaking, I want to I feel like I am a DPS with 400 health pool. I'm trying
Sure.
to keep the main tank alive. I'm trying to keep the squishies on my team alive while maintaining high charge.
Okay, okay, yeah, exactly. So like there are two things, well, I would say like, even more which you can be paying attention to. Okay, first of all, when you're playing Zarya, the first thing you want to be aware of is how to get charge, so you will be
Yeah,
actually able to control space on the map. And then the second one is to be able to help anyone who is doing something actively on your team. So let's say someone's like your Reinhardt's actively swinging on the enemy team, right? Then you can bubble him, as you said. Yeah, like you can pay attention to him. But if there is someone else on your team who is maybe doing something active like your Junkrat, or maybe there is a soldier or Anna, it doesn't matter. To who you can just bubble them. Yeah, maybe your Reinhardt is just in spawn, maybe your Reinhardt is not actively doing something yet, maybe let's say he's like right there, but your
yeah,
Anna or your Junkrat, they actively going in doing something like here or there on the front line, then you can focus on them. Okay, so it's always depends. You don't have to necessarily just focus on specifically one target, such as your Reinhardt. Okay, but yeah, for the most part, Reinhardt will be most likely the target which you bubble because you expect him to be in the front line, but sometimes it
yeah.
just might not happen. So, okay, let's see how the first fight went.
Okay.
I think our team did pretty good this this round here.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, the first thing, we got some charge, and then later let's look what we're gonna do with our second bubble. Okay, so here's an important question. How do you usually use your bubbles? Like, how do you use your second bubble specifically?
Second bubble as in on team.
Mhm.
For the team bubble.
So using it on team, but
First, I understand the first two bubbles, you bubble the engagement. So let's say here, I'm kind of waiting because Reinhardt seems like he's not taking any damage and he's not pushing forward. So I'm just waiting for him to, like the first, when he starts swinging, I will bubble him. That's usually the first bubble for the main tank. Unless there's a DPS jumping in front of the enemy line, I would bubble him.
Okay, okay. So like here's the thing.
Yeah.
When the fight is actively starting, like right when you say you want to bubble someone for engagement, right? Like let's say usually on this map you expect the fight to be like around this corner, kind of around this sort of building. So that's where you need to make sure you control space actively, and how you control the space is with your damage. But because you had zero charge, like because this entire time this enemy team, they're able to walk in like freely, and you had the zero charge, because of it we didn't able to force their resources such as maybe matrix or shields, and that's why they have more sort of freedom in this fight, and that's why it's kind of hard for you to actually do something here. So like what I'm trying to say is it's always important to kind of make sure you prepare your resources, you have your resources in the actual fight when the engagement happens. And the engagement happens, like you said, when the enemy team getting close to you. So the first stage, it's always like what we can call the poke stage in a game. That's a stage where we just kind of really far from each other, we're not actively engaging each other, just exchanging those cooldowns, like you starting here, and then the enemy team just starting to spawn, and you guys both kind of like the enemy team currently going towards you, okay? And in this stage, you want to make sure you have that charge, and then later, when there is gonna be a second stage, it's called brawl stage. That's where you need to bubble your Reinhardt again and enable him again because he's swinging. But because you have that charge, like now maybe you have 50 plus charge in the brawl stage, you're actually able to do something versus the enemy team versus a 0 charge. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so like always, you're right, you want to bubble the Rhine when he is actively swinging, but before, actually try to focus on anyone who is receiving pressure. Literally think about who is gonna give you the highest charge. Because you sort of, like, you want to think about how you're gonna carry the fight. So that's, like, your charge allows you to carry the fight, allows you to control the space. So, like, who we can bubble then? How do we actually get charge? If that makes sense. Like, so yeah, sure. They were sort of exchanging those cooldowns. Also, what you did there, yeah, you used your self bubble to get some extra charge, right? But who you can bubble on your team to actually give you some charge, just a little bit of charge as well?
Maybe Reinhardt, maybe
Okay.
even Junkrat. But like people are not shooting at the Junkrat, so maybe Reinhardt. He'll probably get 15 charge out of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Reinhardt might work. There's an important thing. Even though the Reinhardt's gonna hold the shield, because the bubble is like, it's like a
Big.
circle. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
ball. Yeah, because of it, these guys, while they shoot in the shield, they will still be able to damage your bubble. So it's okay to just bubble your Rein. Maybe additionally, if you have someone in your team who is, maybe you have a friend who's playing Reinhardt, you can ask him to drop his shield for this time, and then you can get even more charge. But literally focus on anyone who is getting shotted. So that's your first bubbles. And it's important to mention that when this team is gonna be around this corner, you're gonna have your second bubbles again. And that's where you can enable your team again. And because you have that charge, as I said, it just becomes easier for you to control space on the map. Like this entire time, let's imagine if we have this additional 15 plus charge, how much more damage we can do before they come to us. Yeah, maybe we can force like more, let's say, resources such as break pack because of it, or maybe we can force Ana grenade. And if they don't have those resources, they have their disadvantage, right? Okay. So like this bubble, generally speaking, is good, right? But it could look even better if we had this additional charge to just pressure the enemy for a little bit before. Okay, so like enabling the Rein here totally makes sense. Also, your cell bubble here is fine too, my opinion.
I didn't have a bubble for him.
No, I mean here we could. You couldn't do anything else. But on the bigger picture, we could maybe say, yeah, if I could be forcing more resources from the enemy team, maybe these guys could be not that comfortable with pushing forward, and because of it, my Reinhardt maybe could stay alive, yeah? Maybe, let's say, we force more break packs, so because of it, if they don't have those resources, like this Reinhardt cannot get the healing from his team. Because of it, he would be dead right there, maybe, who knows. And then our Reinhardt is staying alive, it's like, one thing going after another, it's kind of snowballing.
I know what you say, snowballs.
Yeah, exactly, okay. So that's the first part. I think we did a good job on going back here, so our positioning is fine. Okay. Okay, also, let's see. I think potentially,
Yeah.
like here,
Yeah.
I understand the attempt, but it's still kind of like something you can look for, because the Doomfist, with Doomfist, it actually requires to like hit his slam, to do something in the fight, and if he misses it, then you can kind of say, well, I don't have to be worried about anyone. Like, if he's trying to go after Diana, if he didn't hit that ability, you can be fine about it. You can just maybe switch to someone else, because your Anne is not actually getting shotted actively, so you can focus literally on maybe your soldier later, or again maybe your Junkrat's gonna go in. You can try to get charge from them. But let's see what we're gonna do later. Okay, I think our self bubble's been fine. Yeah, like again, you got this decent charge. Then later, now it's time to think about who do we bubble and when. Okay, so now at this point you actually have a 40 charge, which is almost high charge, like
Yeah.
50 plus considered high charge. So now it's a time for you to be decisive with your bubbles, and now it's time to look to actively enable someone, as we said. So if the Reinhardt shot is there, you're totally fine with that, yeah? Because he's actively doing something. You want to enable that, you can bubble that, sure, that works. Okay, and then later, we notice that enemy Reinhardt is charging back, we got a kill on him. And. Okay, our team is winning the fight there. And then later, let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, so the fight's gonna start right now. And
Yeah.
something you can look for again, yeah? If you want to communicate a little bit with your Reinhardt, just calling it out and like saying, Reinhardt, can you get some charge for me? And just, you know, ask him to stay here out in the open for a little bit while the enemy team is really, really far. It's totally fine. Later, once you guys gonna take the fight around the point, you will have your second bubble steer. So, okay. Let's see what's gonna happen later. The enemy Reinhardts, they don't have a shield almost. Got slapped, but we're gonna be fine. The cell bubble is totally okay there. Okay.
This is not.
Oh yeah, that's a part with the Diva Bomb. Yeah, as I said,
Yeah.
if something like that happens, maybe there is a Soldier Visor, maybe there is I don't know, something like again, yeah, Diva Bomb or anything. The enemy just ulting, pressuring you, just use cover, don't rely on your shields. It's not that
Reliable.
yeah, it's not that reliable because they might drop it. You're also not sure what they exactly trying to shield, which direction.
He
Yeah.
charged into the bomb. He charged in because I thought the bomb was going to be, you know, behind me, and he charged the bomb into that wall.
Actually, yeah, like if you take a look at this now,
Yeah.
you're going
You
in,
see?
and then the
He
marker
charged-
changes. Yeah, so like at this moment, you know, if you see that marker change the place, you could kind of like keep staying here, but it requires some like good reaction. I'm not gonna lie, but still, yeah, it's fine. Happens. Yeah, he actually did charge there. It was sort of a little bit unexpected.
And he got moved away. And then my team is carrying. This is great. He got nanoed, I think.
Okay. And again, something you can look for right here is, yeah, like exactly bubbling before the fight, making sure you have enough charge. You bubble yourself, you can even do the same for Ryan. Even though just a little bit of a charge, still, it's better to have like maybe 45 charge or like 50 charge than 39 or like 35 later in a fight, right? So, like this entire time, while these guys are actively going in, when they will, when they're like really far here and still can actively shoot you Reinhardt, that's a good time to bubble it, to bubble him. Like this here, you can also take a look at the enemy team, maybe like the enemy Ana or the enemy the enemy Baptiste. They will be actually shooting the
He'll be
Ryan
shooting
most
at the
likely.
Reinhardt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most likely they will try to kind of like deal damage to him. Like this one shot on the Ryan, then later, okay, there's a sleep dart towards the soldier, but even just one shot, yeah, one shot from Ana, one shot from Baptiste, that's enough for you to kind of get to get this charge. Okay. Yeah, I think this fight went pretty well. You should be. Let me see. Oh, okay. That was okay. That was the almost the last fight here when we had the grab, right? Because like these bubbles here, that's totally fine. Like you bubbling the Reinhardt once he's aggressive, that's really good. But we could just be having additional charge before, as I said. Okay. The enemy team actually hard engaging, and the Doomfist is going after you. Well, grabbing the Doomfist works in my opinion. How do you usually use your grab, by the way?
A couple of scenarios. If I have the graph before the fight start, I will tell my teammates that I'll start the fight with the graph.
Start the fight with the graph. Makes sense, okay.
I will try to grab the squishies.
The squishies,
not the
right? Why the
not
squishies?
The tanks. Because the tanks are not killable.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And here what you said about the squishies, it applies at any point of time when you're playing Zarya, when you're playing any off tank like Diva again, you always want to prioritize going after squishies because they're simply easier to get a kill. I mean, yeah, it's easier to get a kill on them.
Or if I'm about to die, and if I think if I can grab like someone just to keep myself from dying, I will grab like the Doomfist. Sometimes I'll grab solo grab the Nano the Genji I'll solo grab.
Sure.
Or even like a Lucio I'll grab, like a Valking Mercy I'll grab, or sometimes just to get myself to not die. Yeah, but I'm not. I'm not looking for a 6-man grab every time. I'm more looking for, but still, I make the mistake of solo grabbing a Reinhardt. It still happens.
Yeah, I mean, like this grab is totally fine to me. Like, why? Because like really, ultimates there. The ultimate's designed to give you an advantage in a fight, and if you solo grab anyone from their team, maybe also as you mentioned when there is Nano Blading Genji, you can maybe grab him, or just Blading Genji, you can also grab him to gain advantage in a fight. Like here, even though the Doomfist is not Nano to anything, still gives you some sort of advantage in a fight, so that's good to me. Yeah, ideally you still want to look to maybe get maybe a little bit more people in the grab and squishies, but solo grabbing works too. So like this grab, I'm totally fine with that, really. It's always a good grab in my opinion.
Or like something that has too much mobility. Like something I just can't hit, like a Lucio, I will solo grab.
I would say, okay, that kind of depends. Usually with the high mobility targets, you want to be a little bit more aware of like how you're trying to grab them, when you're trying to grab them, because it's easy to escape for them. Like let's say you will aim to grab that Valkyrie Mercy, as you said, most likely it will be really hard to hit the grab. Like why? Because for the most part, Mercy will be somewhere maybe up in the air, above your head, and then if you'll actually go for this attempt, like that might work, but it's way too risky, and usually you can find some other target which you can hit, some easier target which you can pay attention to. Like in Overwatch, going for the easiest play is usually the right choice. But again, yeah, the easiest should be like around thinking about the squishes, kind of grabbing the squishes first, I would say, because they're easier to get a kill on. So, by the way, like right here, look what you did. So the enemy is really far. This time you're bubbling the Anna because she's actively getting shotted. That works. Like bubbling from really far works, and then later again, because we have the charge, it's really easy to get a kill on that Diva, for example. Okay. Okay, now it's kind of interesting. So when we in this fight, you got a little bit distracted because of the enemy Reinhardt in the back. Okay, so it's kind of interesting. What kind of thoughts you had here? What's your target priority?
Is alive. Okay, I know the Reinhardt is alive and he's behind me, but he's kind of too far from me. And he's got his shield up. I feel like it's gonna take me to run over there. He's gonna fire strike me, and I feel right now it's easier for me to, like, between the Junkrat, the baby Diva, and the Ana, if I run 90 degrees to my right, I feel like I'll just die on my way across. That's why I feel like Ana's behind me. I'm going to aim them instead of the Reinhardt.
Can you repeat that? Aim for, you want to aim for what again?
I want to aim for like the Junkrat, the baby Diva just died. So there's a Junkrat and there's an Ana. I feel like if I just run like to the right and aim on the Reinhardt, I feel like I'm gonna die. Like this way, I feel like I'm gonna die because Anna's gonna shoot me, Junkrat is gonna shoot me.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So, like, here's the important concept. Well, it's a very simple one, but there is a concept which you can use whenever you're in a fight. Prioritizing the squishies gonna do more damage towards the Reinhardt indirectly. So, how that works? Because, like, right here, I have two choices. If I focus the Ryan, that's choice A. I focus this guy's, that's choice B. And choice B actually deals more damage towards the Reinhardt. So I will explain. Okay. So first of all, the Reinhardt has a shield, as you mentioned, right? And when you're trying to focus those tanks, they always have some sort of defensive abilities, like maybe Orisa has a shield, maybe Sigma again has a shield, or even you have that bubble which you can use. So whenever you trying to focus a tank, because they're tanking, they are actually dragging your attention, their squishes, like the Reinhardt squishes, they will be able to go in forward, take space, and actively shoot someone from your team. So that's how the game works. Like, if when you playing the tank, if you dragging the enemy attention at the right time, that's gonna give the value to your team, because they're just simply able to do more. But let's say I'm gonna say, well, I'm not gonna play by your rules, so I'm not gonna shoot you, Ryan. I will just focus on squishes instead. Because you do that, because you will be focused on this Ana or Junkrat, I would say focusing this Ana or even Baptiste is better. And because you do so, you force them to play back, play more defensive, and because they play more defensive, that means this guy's not able to heal the Ryan this entire time. But we know at situation A, if we would be focusing the Ryan, then the Reinhardt the entire time, he also would get healed. If that makes sense.
By Ana.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to choose a situation B, so focusing to squishies, not even hesitating. So, like, that's where it's really important, because I saw that you hesitated a little bit.
Oh, I did! I was doing like the calculus in my head. I was like, give me a second. Who do I shoot here? So, you know, if you watch my replay, you will see my second hesitation. Because I was still deciding between the Junkrat and the Ana.
Okay, so what's the highest value target for us again?
The healers.
The healers, so the who?
Pardon?
Yeah, which target? Again.
Yeah. the healers.
Uh,
I think.
the name, the Anna or the Baptiste,
Anna.
because there are two
I would
healers.
say
Okay,
Anna.
yeah, I would say Anna too, because yeah, this is just important, right? To mention that Anna is on low ground, so it's kind of easy to get it, to shoot her. So yeah, you're right. You focus on Anna, you force this Anna go back. This Reinhardt will just die by himself later, because yeah, well, he's gonna get shot at by someone else. So yeah, like you can also see like this entire time, like look at this Anna. Just look at it. Like she's trying to move forward, heal the Rhine, and he's
Yeah.
actually getting healed. And while the attention is directed towards this Reinhardt, this Junkrat will be actually able to shoot the enemy, like your team. Well, he's missing his shots, maybe, right? But still, that applies some sort of pressure. Later, the higher we go in ranks, the more people will be actually good at their mechanics, and then they will actually learn those abilities. So that's why it's important to know this like fundamental concept. Always being aware of where the squishes are, focusing on those first. Because like, yeah, there.
Yeah, I was thinking.
We went after
You
the
see, I'm
Junkrat as well.
deciding
Exactly.
between. Yeah, because I don't know how to describe that feeling. As if I don't know who to just lock on a target and just focus Anna. I'm deciding. I'm jumping between Anna and Junkrat.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, again, the Junkrat's getting healed by Diana. Diana is not getting healed by anyone here, so you can focus on Diana, yeah? The same applies to Reinhardt again. If you focus on Ryan, he's getting healed, as we said, so. Going after Diana as soon as possible, going after their supports, it's the most valuable option to you. Also, most of the supports, they have those really important abilities, like with Anna. Diana has this Nate, for example, and Sleep Dart. Also, Baptiste has this Immortality Field. Those abilities are really powerful. So, focusing on supports first gives you insane amount of value. Here it's all about target priority. If you would be on Diana, she would die already, and maybe you could be on Baptiste later, and then Baptiste would die too, and then you could just kill everyone else later. As you wanted, like kill the
Feel like I
Trine.
wasted the nano.
Yeah, well, we have to use Nano, yeah, also to make sure we turn that around, but maybe, who knows, maybe we will not use it. Maybe we will try to just, you know, use it later when we need, like maybe to save the soldier or save your Junkrat, like here, for example. Yeah, who knows? Maybe enable your Rhine. So like even here, right? You see that opportunity to focus Diana, you go after her. Like we're going after the Junkrat. Again,
Yeah.
Junkrat's getting healed a lot because of this window as well, by the way. If projected shot goes through the window, it heals twice more. So again, maybe you can repeat those things which we paid attention to. Let's try to think about when. So how do you get charged? Let's repeat this concept. What do you do? What do you want to pay attention to when you get in initial charge with Zarya?
To bubble early before the I want to get as much charge as possible during the poke phase. So I would even ask like the main tank to maybe take a little damage so I can get higher charge. So when the brawl stage happens, I will have more resource to deal with what is going to happen.
Exactly. And later, yeah, when there's gonna be a brawl phase. So what you described there, like when the fight is not started yet, that's a poke phase. So kind of getting charged in the poke phase, and then later when there's gonna be a brawl phase, when you said like your Reinhardt's gonna swing, something's gonna happen, like you guys gonna start brawling each other, actively fighting. That's where you can bubble someone again. Anyone who is actively being shotted is a good target to bubble. Okay. And in terms of target priority, I think that's pretty simple, right? Like trying to go after 200 HP targets as much as possible and prioritizing their supports more. Okay? Let's see, by the way, how the attack is gonna be. I think we... So like even right here, right? The poke phase started, okay? The shots going towards your team now, going towards your Reinhardt now, that's where you can already think about bubbling him. Later, in 9 seconds, like even in 10 seconds, I would say, the fight's gonna be around this point here, and that's where you will bubble again. But because you have this enough charge, you will actually force these people to play a little bit more defensive. Maybe they will go back because you have a lot of charge. Maybe you will force them behind the corners. Yeah, who knows? Because like, let's see here. If we did bubble the Rhine there, like, I want to see when do we bubble. Okay, so we bubble right there. Okay, so our bubble is gonna be on like 7-8 seconds cooldown. And let's actually count like this entire time when we just started. Okay, so let's say we bubble now, and then the Reinhardt is gonna swing in 5 seconds, I think. Okay, so the timer just was at 52 when we were near the payload, and then Reinhardt goes in now. So we had like 9 seconds, yeah? Like in 9 seconds, our Reinhardt started going in. That's where you could have your second bubble already, so you don't have to hesitate with your first bubble. Okay, but the second bubble was really, really good though. I really like the way you kind of pay attention to Reinhardt swinging though. That's what we do really, really great. Okay. Do you have any questions currently, or everything's clear?
So far, it's clear.
Okay,
But
nice.
I feel like this is too. I don't know. Like this game seems a little like easy.
Yeah, this game was kind of. It felt like our team did a lot too, but
Yeah.
paying attention to those topics like your bubble management, your target priority, that's gonna help you any other game. So
Yeah.
like I would say, like from my notes also, what I've watched before when you played this Temple of Anubis game, there was literally kind of like the same situation. We were not able to get enough charge before the fight, so that's something what you want to be paying attention to later in your games, I would say. Also, actually, in my notes, I have this focusing on 200 HP targets more. So that's something, again, you can implement, really. Like, also, when you... Like, if you wanna take the Overwatch seriously, right? What you wanna do as well is try to review your games, too. Maybe, you can watch a couple of VODs, yeah, and just look at those patterns, look at what you do exactly, and identify what you need to work on. Right now, because we identified what we need to work on, you can just sort of look at every fight and ask yourself, like, let's say you want to be focused on your getting charge first, and every fight you will be asking yourself, okay, how do I get charge here? Did I get enough charge? Yeah, when reviewing yourself. Maybe also trying to ask yourself, did I focus on 200 HP targets? Yeah, and if you didn't, then try to see what you can actually do to make sure you focus on those. Yeah, maybe your positioning was not on point. Maybe you was simply not looking at 200 HP target in the first place. So yeah, reviewing yourself actually helps a lot too. Let's also kind of like think about this situation here. So, because that was kind of easy, but let's imagine this kind of situation. If the enemy team is holding here and they do have a Rhine, let's say, okay, and then your Reinhardt's pushing up like this.
Yeah.
Okay, where you would position to actually be more useful to your team, sort of like providing more value to your team in terms of damage? Do you still wanna position behind your Rhine or not?
I want to go from inside.
So inside the building here, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and why is that the case?
I think someone told me this. I should be almost like parallel to my Reinhardt
Okay.
because I'm not doing much behind him.
Sure. So like, yeah, right. Some, as you said, someone taught you that. Maybe, yeah, and it's correct. But like, let's think about this. Like, why that works? Why it actually allows you to do more on the map? What do you think?
Because I'm shooting off angle.
Okay, so we're taking this off angle, and then what if angle gives you? Why it's good?
Uh, they're not focusing me. I kind of just do some free damage. Like they don't know where to focus at that point. Either they focus on my Reinhardt or me, but we're both
Exactly.
tanks.
Okay, so like here's the really important thing, right? And you can kind of connect it to what I said before in terms of making sure that you focus on those 200 HP targets, right?
Yeah.
When you're taking off angles, that actually allows you to avoid enemy defensive abilities such as Reinhardt shield, such as Orisa shield, and just be like, guys, like here, you're gonna tell them, okay, I don't want to deal with your shield. I wanna just take this off angle here. Let's throw you this way. Okay, so you're gonna stay maybe there and not be focused on Ryan shield and just focus on these guys instead. And because you're doing so, you actually forcing this enemy team to go all the way back. So like again, your team is pressuring here, you're pressuring from this side, and because of it, they will be forced to go back because, for example, for Reinhardt, simply physically, he will not be able to survive unless he will be able to block those two angles. Like let's say you're going from here, yeah, like let's do it this way. So you're doing this damage from here, the enemy team is going for this sort of damage here, and then the Reinhardt will be forced to move back to cover those two angles. If that makes sense. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's how it works. That's why it's so strong to actually be there, and like what you did later, by the way, in a fight.
Yeah.
Like you actually did take an off angle. So let's see. You guys gonna go in, and then your Reinhardt's going main, and you're going on the right side. Okay. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. The Sigma just have no choice. He either have to deal with you or his main here. And for the most part, he will actually try to deal with the main here because simply there are more people to pay attention to. Like on the paper, there are gonna be more people behind the Ryan. So you can actually do this, avoid the Sigma shield, and just beam these guys instead. That's an off angle right there, even though the fight's sort of won because you guys forced a lot of enemy resources anyway. So, yeah. That's something you want to do. Okay. Okay, so yeah, I would say this game was kind of easy, but anyway.
It's too obvious. But yeah, we'll have to start from the basics. I think I think once the game gets really you will see as we go through more games later on. In very difficult games, I feel like as if I stopped thinking.
Do you have any like goals before going in competitive game, or like what do you do? Like, do you have any specific plan, or like?
No.
So that's why it's a kind of, might be the problem, I think. So like, let's say now we identified those key things which we need to pay attention to, like focusing on 200 HP targets, right? Or maybe like making sure you getting enough charge before the fight. So you want to be literally going in a game with those goals on focusing on those two things, or maybe even one thing. And you want to be focused on those until you do them until you do those automatically.